Good morning, friends. This is Mr. R.A. Kalel, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, Vivekanand College, Kolhapur Autonomous. Today, we are going to discuss the basic things about the molecular spectroscopy, which are useful for the chemistry undergraduate and postgraduate students. Now, see, today the spectroscopy is widely used technique not only in chemistry but also in material science as well as life sciences also. Hence it is necessary to understand the basics or fundamentals behind the spectroscopy. For that, see, I have selected the basics of molecular spectroscopy. Now see, generally the spectroscopy means what? See, to understand that, for any kind of spectroscopy you just keep in mind, if spectroscopy is there, in that there is a interactions. See, there is a study of interactions in between the electromagnetic radiations and matters or objective, right? And why that spectroscopy is widely used in all the fields of sciences? Because this spectroscopy gives an useful information regarding the characteristics properties as well as we can say the structure of any object, right? So in order to determine the structure of any object, or in order to study the, or in order to interpret the different characteristics properties that are associated with any object, suppose for example if you design a new material, right, and you want to know the exact structure of that material. Now why it is necessary to know the exact structure? Because its kinds of application is mostly depends upon its structural features, right? So in order to apply that material for different kinds of application, it is mandatory to know the structural characteristics or structural features of that material. So to know that structural features, right, we have to play with the spectroscopic techniques, right? See, there are n number of spectroscopic techniques that are used into the general chemical research, or you can say general chemical sciences as well as material sciences and life sciences. So the main spectroscopy is concerned with the interaction of an electromagnetic radiations with the matter. Now see, those interactions definitely depends upon the characteristics of electromagnetic radiations as well as characteristics of matters, right? Now see, to study those spectroscopy, it is mandatory to understand the what is electromagnetic radiations, right? Now generally the electromagnetic radiations, it's simply nothing but, you just consider an visible light, right? Visible light is the smallest part of an electromagnetic radiations. And see, visible light is nothing but a simple harmonic wave that is propagated from a source and traveling in a straight line in a space, except when it is reflected, or you can say refracted, right? Means simply, the wave. Wave means, you can say, or simply you can say, consider it as a simple harmonic wave, and it has a properties. For example, the physical displacement of a stretch string that is vibrating means, if you stretch the spring of that pen, everybody knows that that spring, if you stretch that spring, that spring shows a properties of a wave. Also, the alternate compression and rarefaction of an atmosphere during the passage of a sound waves, right, that are the characteristics of a simple harmonic waves, right? And see, these simple harmonic waves are nothing but the interconnected electric and magnetic field, that are nothing but the interconnected electric and magnetic field, right? And see, so the electromagnetic radiations can simply be defined as the mutually perpendicular oscillations of an electric field and magnetic field that propagates sinusoidally in a space, right? That propagates sinusoidally in a space. Now see, in this slide, you just observe this picture. In this picture, two different fields are there. See, the magnetic field and electric field, B bar and E bar. See, these two fields are mutually perpendicular with each other and they are propagate in a one direction, which is denoted by a black arrow, right? See, these two fields, or you can say simply these two energies, are nothing but the electromagnetic radiations, right? Now see, these electromagnetic radiations, while interact with the matter, and see, after interaction it gives a spectrum, right? It gives a spectrum. Now see, these electromagnetic radiations have a characteristics of simply like a sine wave. Everybody knows that the one complete cycle of any wave is a sine wave. Now see, if it has a sine wave characteristics, right, then the sine wave is defined by a simple equation, y equals to a sine theta, where y is the displacement with maximum value of a. A is nothing but the amplitude, right, and theta is the angle between 0 and 2 pi. Now see, simply by incorporating the fundamental distance time relationship, the concepts of frequency, wavelength, and amplitude, as well as wave number in the sine equation, we can get a basic wave equation for a motion that is applicable for an electromagnetic radiations, which can also called as basic equation of wave motion for electromagnetic radiations, and which is becomes y equals to a sine 2 pi x upon lambda, where y is displacement with maximum value of a is the amplitude, x is the distance covered in time t at speed c. C is the velocity, or you can say speed of an electromagnetic radiations, and lambda is the wavelength of that radiations. Now see, along with that, that equation can also be expressed in terms of its frequency as well as in terms of its wave number. This basic wave equation in terms of a frequency, it becomes y equals to a sine 2 pi nu x upon c, and in terms of a wave number, this equation becomes y equals to a sine 2 pi x, a sine 2 pi nu bar into x. So these electromagnetic radiations have also some characteristics, right? Now see that electromagnetic radiations were characterized by some properties, right? And these properties are, first property is the amplitude. What is amplitude? Amplitude is simply, we can say, the displacement, or you can say maximum displacement of a wave from its rest position, right? Or it can also be defined as the distance from rest to crest. See, in this slide, we can see the rest line is denoted by a dotted line, right? So, see, the distance from this rest line to a maximum displacement of a wave, that is means the distance between rest line and crest, is simply called amplitude, where it is, see, in this figure it is shown by a dark arrow which is directed in the, or we can say it is upward directed arrow, that is called amplitude. And see, amplitude is mostly expressed or generally expressed in terms in the unit of a distance, as it is a displacement, so it is expressed in the unit of distance. And see, the another characteristics properties with which we can characterize the electromagnetic radiation is the frequency. Simply, we can define frequency means the number of a complete cycles of a wave that pass through a fixed point per unit time. That is called frequency, and frequency is denoted by a symbol nu, and its SI unit is hertz. And see, the frequency has a dimensions of reciprocal of seconds, because it number of cycles per unit time means per unit per seconds, that gives you a idea about the frequency of that electromagnetic radiations. Now see, this frequency is denoted by a symbol nu, and there is a good relationship in between frequency and wavelength, or simply you can say, if we know the equation nu equals to c by lambda, means nu indicates the frequency and lambda indicates the wavelength. So the frequency is inversely proportional to the wavelength of any waves, right? And that is applicable for our electromagnetic radiations also. The frequency is inversely proportional to wavelength, which says that if there is a higher frequency, then obviously that wave have a lower wavelength. See, as c is the velocity of light and velocity, right? And that velocity is constant. So nu equals to c by lambda means nu equals to constant upon lambda. It means nu is directly inversely proportional to wavelength, right? And see that nu is expressed, as I have already explained, it is expressed in hertz. The SI unit of frequency is hertz. So this is the one characteristics property. Along with that, the another characteristics property of electromagnetic radiations is there. That is, sorry, electromagnetic radiations can also be considered as electromagnetic waves, right? And for the sake of convenience, you just consider an light. Light is also an electromagnetic waves, or it is a electromagnetic radiations. Now see, for that light, that can be characterized with the help of its wavelength. Now what is wavelength? Wavelength is simply defined as the distance between two successive crests, or the distance between two successive trough. See, in this figure, the wavelength is denoted by a symbol lambda, right? And it is shown the distance between two successive crests, or the distance between two successive trough, is called wavelength. It is can also be defined as the distance traveled during a complete cycle, right? Or it can also be more precisely, it is defined as the distance that measured in the direction of propagation of wave between two identical adjacent points in the wave, right? Between two identical adjacent point, that part is very important. Identical adjacent point, it doesn't mean that only the distance between two successive crests can be considered as a wavelength, or it doesn't mean that only the distance between two successive minima of trough is considered as a wavelength. It is considered, see, the wavelength is nothing but the distance that is measured in the direction of propagation of wave, right? And the distance which is between two identical adjacent points. And see that adjacent means the successive points in the waves. See, the SI unit of wavelength is meter. Now see, in the spectroscopy, that wavelength is expressed in many terms. Even though SI unit is meter, but the wavelength is not generally expressed in terms of a large power of 10, but it is expressed in many units. For example, into the microwave spectroscopy, or you can say into the rotational spectroscopy, that wavelength is expressed in terms of a centimeter or in terms of a millimeter, where 1 centimeter equals to 10 raised to minus 2 meter, 1 millimeter equals to 10 raised to minus 3 meter. And into the infrared spectroscopy, where we can study the vibrational transitions. In that case, the wavelength is expressed in terms of a micrometer. And see, 1 micrometer equals to 10 raised to minus 6 meter. In terms of an electronic spectroscopy, or in terms of UV visible absorption spectroscopy, this wavelength is mostly or commonly expressed in terms of a nanometer, right? So nanometer equals to 1 nanometer equals to 10 raised to minus 9 meter. It can also be expressed in terms of an angstrom. 1 angstrom equals to 10 raised to minus 10 meters, right? So along with these three characteristics properties, the electromagnetic radiations can also be characterized with the help of another property, that is wave number. And see, this wave number is also denoted by a symbol nu bar, right? See, that expression we have already studied, which expression lambda equals to c upon nu. That means nu equals to c upon lambda. This expression clearly tells you that there is an inverse relationship in between lambda and nu. Nu indicates the frequency, as c is the constant, right? See, the two terms, frequency and wave number, both are relatively close terms, because as we know, frequency is the number of cycles per unit time, and it is expressed in second inverse, or it is expressed in hertz. Similarly, the wave number is denoted by a symbol that is nu bar, which is defined as the reciprocal of wavelength, right? And it is expressed into the centimeter inverse, which can also be more precisely defined as the number of a complete cycles or waves contained in each centimeter length of radiations, right? And mathematically, the wave number is defined as nu bar equals to 1 upon lambda centimeter inverse, right? And there is a direct relationship in between frequency and wave number. And see, this relationship is nu equals to C into nu bar. Means frequency is directly proportional to the wave number. Means for any wave, if there is a higher frequency, then obviously that wave have a highest wave number, right? Now see, for a practical convenience or for a sake of convenience, this electromagnetic spectrum, see, the electromagnetic spectrum is a very large spectrum, and on the basis of its wavelength or frequency in hertz, this electromagnetic spectrum is divided into 7 different regions, that is called regions of an electromagnetic spectrum. And see, these regions are divided with its wavelength by considering its wavelength or by considering its frequency. But you just keep in mind, the boundaries that divide the two regions is not a fixed or precise boundary, it is an approximate boundary, right? And see, on the basis of its use of that electromagnetic radiations for a different spectroscopic technique, it is divided into the 7 different regions. See, these regions of electromagnetic spectrum is displayed on the screen. Now see, if we are moved from lower frequency to higher frequency, then the lower frequency region of an electromagnetic spectrum is called radio frequency region. The radio frequency region having a frequency range 3 into 10 raised to 6 to 3 into 10 raised to 10. In that region, see, as this is a lower frequency region, then obviously for that reason, if frequency is lower, then obviously there is a inverse relationship in between frequency and wavelength. Then obviously for that region, the wavelength is higher, right? Obviously there is a direct relationship in between frequency and energy. So if for a radio frequency region, if it is a lower frequency region, then obviously that region is a lower energy region of an electromagnetic spectrum. Right now, see, in that region, see, the electromagnetic radiations from that region cannot be seen by our naked eye. And see, these electromagnetic radiations are used to study the change of its different, you can say, spin, or you can say this spectroscopy can be used to study the transitions that were takes place in between different spins. For example, see, in this, so, or you can say this radiations from the radio frequency region is used to study the NMR or to study the ESR. In the NMR, the nuclear spin change can be studied, or in the ESR, the electronic spin change can be studied. So the first region of lower frequency region of an electromagnetic radiation is radio frequency region. Then the higher frequency region is microwave region, having a frequency in the range of 3 into 10 raised to 10 to 3 into 10 raised to 12. In that case, the change of orientation, or you can say the rotational change of a molecule, can be studied by using this region of an electromagnetic spectrum. Hence, it is mostly used into the microwave spectroscopy, or you can say the rotational spectroscopy. The next higher frequency region of an electromagnetic spectrum is infrared region. And see, this region is used to study the change in vibrational configuration of a molecules, right? And that is having a frequency is in the range of 3 into 10 raised to 12 to 3 into 10 raised to 14 hertz, right? This region is used into the IR spectrometer. These regions of electromagnetic radiations can be used to study the vibrational changes that is takes place during the molecule. After that, the higher frequency region into the electromagnetic spectrum is ultraviolet visible region. Now see, ultraviolet visible region, out of that only visible region can be seen by a human eyes, right? The other ultraviolet region cannot be observed by a human eyes. And see, the frequency of that ultraviolet and visible region is in the order 10 raised to 3 into 10 raised to 14 to 3 into 10 raised to 16, and having wavelength is of range 1 micrometer to 10 nanometer, right? That is the one region of electromagnetic spectrum. After that, the higher frequency region is X-ray region. Now see, in the ultraviolet visible region as well as X-ray region, the change in the electronic distribution can be studied, right? In the X-ray, see, these X-ray radiations can be used to determine the crystal structure into the study, or you can say into the study of a solid states. Those radiations are used, X-rays radiations. Also, everybody knows that the X-rays radiations are used for our bone scanning into the medical purpose, right? See, after that, in that also one spectroscopic technique is involved that we will also study it later on. See, but the frequencies of that X-ray radiation is in the order 3 into 10 raised to 16 to 3 into 10 raised to 18 hertz, and having wavelength 10 nanometer to 100 picometer. And the last region of an electromagnetic spectrum is gamma rays. See, these gamma rays are mostly used into the, you can say, to study the change of a nuclear configurations, and that gamma rays having frequency is in the order 3 into 10 raised to 18 to 3 into 10 raised to 20 hertz, right? These are the different regions. Now you just keep in mind the different regions of an electromagnetic radiations have a different frequencies, and you just keep in mind these different frequencies of an electromagnetic radiations shows a different kinds of interactions with the molecules. Now similarly, if an electromagnetic radiations have some characteristics, right, those same kind of characteristics are there, or that is associated with the matters also, right? Now see, everybody knows that in the universe none of the object is stable, means none of the object have a zero energy. Each and every object have its energy, right? And this energy having different forms of energy is exist inside the atoms or inside the object. For example, you just consider a simple molecule. In one simple molecule there are different kinds of energies are present. For example, the energy that is due to the rotation of that molecule around its center of gravity, that is called rotational energy. Also, inside the molecule, everybody knows that if you consider a diatomic molecule, then that diatomic molecule, the distance between two atoms is not constant at all with time. Everybody knows that these two atoms are periodically compressing and expanding. Compression and expansion is takes place. It means that, see, the periodic displacement of an atom from its equilibrium position is takes place, and due to which, see, it has a vibrational energy. Similarly, as we are chemists, everybody knows that if you study the periodic table, in the periodic table it is observed that with increase in the atomic number, the last electron of that atom is situated into the different energy levels for a different atoms. It means that that electronic energy is also existed, and that electronic energy, that electrons is placed into the different energy levels. So that energy into the atom is exist, that energy into the molecule is exist, is not a steady or it is not a constant, but it, that energy is quantized energy is there. So in the 1900, the Max Planck gives an idea, and he mentioned that the oscillators that have a discontinuous forms of energy, and his idea gives a breakthrough to the concept of energy of an atom. According to him, the energy cannot be absorbed or cannot be emitted by any molecule into the continuous manner, but it can be absorbed or emitted by a matter into the discontinuous form. Means he want to says that the energy, any kind of energy, it may be a rotational energy, it may be a vibrational energy, or it may be a electronic energy, that can be quantized inside the atom. That energy can be quantized inside the atom means there are different or n number of energy levels are exist inside the atom according to Max Planck's concept. Now see, if there are n number of energy levels are exist, right, then obviously the molecules or atoms present into the one energy level, right, and during the energy changes, what happens, that molecules or atoms jumps from one energy level to another energy level, right, and due to that jumping or due to that movement, the change in the molecular energy is takes place. Now Planck also suggests that, see, if any molecule absorbs the energy, or any atom or any matter absorbs the energy as well as emits the energy, right, and the absorption and emission of energy is takes place in the form of an electromagnetic waves, right, absorption as well as emission is takes place in the form of electromagnetic waves. Now everybody knows that electromagnetic waves are made up of two different fields, that is electric field and magnetic field, as we have already studied, that are mutually perpendicular with each other. That means that are nothing but electric energy and magnetic energy, right. Also inside the molecule, see, inside the molecule discrete number of energy levels are available, that is simply called quantization of energy is there. Now see, in that quantization, what happen when a molecule is interact with the radiation, in that case what happen, the energy from the radiation is absorbed by the molecule, right, there is a energy change is takes place inside the molecule. Nice. So due to which what happen, molecule may jumps from one energy level to another energy level, right. To understand this concept, for example, you just consider two different energy levels that are already exist inside the molecule, for example rotational energy level or vibrational energy level, and initially you just consider the molecules, maximum number of molecules were present into the energy level E1 and E2, 1 and 2, that represents the quantum number, different energy levels, right. Suppose you just consider the maximum number of molecules are present into the first energy level, that is E1, and see what happen, if that molecules were irradiated with a beam of an electromagnetic radiation, then what happen, those molecules were shifted to a higher energy level, means you can say those molecules jumps from E1 to E2, E1 to E2. In that case, what happened? For example, you just consider, if you measure the intensity of incident radiation, right? And if that incident radiation have a higher intensity, and see, after interaction, if you kept a detector to measure the intensity of emitted radiations, then it is observed that the intensity of emitted radiation is slightly decreases, right? Then by which factor it is going to decreases, that we have to determine, that we have to study. Now for that, everybody knows that in molecule is in lower energy level, when it interacts with the electromagnetic radiation it goes to the higher energy level, while moving it absorbs the energy from the electromagnetic radiations, right, and then molecules are getting energized and they are going to the higher energy level. See, due to that shift, the energy of emitted electromagnetic radiation is going to decreases. Now the quantity of that change in energy is simply determined by a simple equation, that is delta E. Delta E is nothing but E2 minus E1, which is equals to h nu, right. So the frequency of a spectral line which is observed due to interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter can also be simply determined by using this equation, that is nu equals to delta E upon h. By rearranging this equation, delta equals to h upon nu, we can get nu equals to delta E upon h, means we can get the frequency of a spectral line. Similarly, there is a relationship, inverse relationship in between wavelength and frequency. We can determine the wavelength, and see, we can determine the energy. That energy in the spectroscopy, you just keep in mind that energy is mostly expressed in terms of a frequency or wave number, right. So that energy change can be determined, and see, this is useful for us to determine the structure, or you can say characteristics properties of a matter. Now see, It is not like that all the electromagnetic radiations can be absorbed by all the molecules. If such situation is there, then simply you just consider the visible region of an electromagnetic spectrum, and one object can absorb all the electromagnetic radiation. See, one object can absorb all the electromagnetic radiation, then obviously that object is looks simply like a white color, or you can say colorless. But in the visible region you observe that each and every object have a different color. Why this? Because, see, because that object absorbs only a specific wavelength of a light, right? See, the color is observed as the emitting light have a, if you just consider, we observe a red color, it means the emitting light have a red color. If you observe the blue color, it means the emitting light have a blue color, right? So you just keep in mind only those electromagnetic radiations have been absorbed by an object for which the energy is equivalent to the energy gap in between two different energy levels. Means this delta E equals to frequency, or you can say wavelength of a light which is absorbed by that matter, or which is interact with matter. See, other lights or other electromagnetic radiations cannot be interact with this matter. Only those electromagnetic radiations interact with the matter for which the frequency of that electromagnetic radiation is approximately equals to the difference between two energy levels, right? So obviously due to that interaction we can get a spectral transitions, and due to that spectral transitions we can observe the spectral line into the detector, right? And those spectral lines can be characterized by a different terms. Means those spectral lines have also a characteristics properties. Similarly, like an electromagnetic radiations, see, those spectral transition is characterized in terms of its position, its width, as well as its intensity. Now if you want to characterize any spectral line, for that the most important characteristic feature is the position. For example, in the ultraviolet visible or UV visible spectrum, we came to know about the idea of lambda max. Lambda max itself is a position of that spectral transition or spectral line, right? And that is measured in terms of its frequency, wavelength, as well as wave number. Into the infrared spectroscopy or IR, we are characterize the spectral transition in terms of its wavelength, right? Along with this, the another two different characteristics feature of a spectral transitions are there. The first one is the width. Now you just keep in mind, nowadays there are so many resolution techniques are there, see, or highly sophisticated instruments are available, due to which see, those instruments uses high resolution power. Due to high resolution power, there may be a chance that the spectral line that is observed into our spectrogram must be a sharp in nature. But in certain cases what happen, even though high resolution instruments are used, some spectra shows a fuzziness or broadening. Why that fuzziness is there? Because that observe fuzziness into the spectral feature. For example, you just consider then a UV visible spectra. In that UV visible spectra, the spectra is always broader in nature. And if you consider at the NMR spectra, that is very fine and sharp in nature, right? Why that two differences in the two different spectral technique is there? That is not only due to the instrumental resolution factor, but that is also associated with the atomic or molecular energy levels, right? And see, in certain cases that atomic and molecular energy levels itself are fuzzy in nature, right? And see, why that atomic and molecular energy levels are fuzzy? That fuzziness is contributed by different factors. And see, these factors are collision broadening, Doppler broadening, and Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Now what is collision broadening? Collision broadening means everybody knows that while recording the spectrum we are using the liquid sample as well as gaseous sample. Into the liquid sample as well as gaseous sample, everybody knows that the molecules are not in a constant position. According to the kinetic theory of gases, everybody knows that inside the gas, molecules are not fixed at their position, but they are continuously moving randomly. While moving, they collides with each other, right? And see, you just consider, if molecules are collides with each other, then during the collision, its electronic distribution is going to changes, right? Due to which, see, due to that collision, molecule perturbs, means molecule itself tries to rearrange its change electronic orientation, right? And due to which the spectral feature is observed slightly broader in nature, which is called collision broadening, right? Which is called collision broadening. Along with that collision broadening, another factor which contributes to the fuzziness is Doppler broadening. What is Doppler broadening? See, similarly, we have discussed that the molecules in liquid phase as well as gaseous phase are in a continuous motion, right? Due to that continuous motion, the spectral line slightly shift to a higher wavelength as well as lower wavelength due to the Doppler effect, which is called Doppler broadening. And another factor, the next factor that contributes to the width of a spectral line is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Everybody knows that the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is applicable for a different conjugated quantities like position and momentum for a moving particle. It is also applicable for an energy and time, right? That means delta E into delta T is always greater than or equals to h upon 2 pi, which is approximately equals to Planck's constant, right? Now you just consider, for any kind of system, if that system is exist in a certain energy level for a limited time, right? Certain energy level for a limited time, and if you want to measure that limited time more precisely, then we can miss the data of more precise information of an energy, right? That uncertainty is exist, and due to that uncertainty, more fuzziness is observed into the spectral feature. Along with that, the spectral transition is also characterized by its intensity. Now, intensity of any spectral line is depends upon the transition probability, population of different energy states, as well as concentration and path length of a sample. Now see, if maximum possibility of a transition in between two different energy level is there, right, then the maximum transitions will take place. If maximum transitions will take place, then obviously intensity of a spectral line is increases. If lower possibility of transition is there, low probability is there, then obviously the transition is not takes place. That much intense transition is not takes place, so obviously intensity of a spectral line is going to decreases. The another factor, see, that transition probability is simply decided by a selection rule. Now see, for that different kind of selection rules are where apply. Symmetry allowable transitions or non-allowable transitions or forbidden transitions, as well as you can say the spectrally allowed transition and spectrally forbidden transitions. For example, if any transition is spectrally allowed transition, then the spectral line which is observed into the spectrum due to the allowed transition is highest in intensity as compared to the spectral line which is observed into the spectrum due to the spectroscopically or symmetrically forbidden transition, right? So thus transition probability determines the intensity of a spectral line. Then next is the population of a state. Now see, you just consider two different states, energy states are there, and n number of molecules are there. See, the first energy state, which is called, you can say, lower energy level, another energy state which you can say higher energy level. Now see, if n number of molecules are there, then practically the maximum molecules will exist into the lower energy level, right? Because always molecule is exist into its lower energy state. So practically that molecule is exist into the lower energy level. Now see what happen when we are considering, we are irradiating that system with the light or with the electromagnetic radiation. Then what happen, the level which is having maximum number of molecules shows a maximum probability of a transitions, and the level which is having lowest number of molecules shows a least probability of a transition, right? And see, you just imagine two different spectral lines are there. Out of that two spectral lines, the lines which is due to the maximum probability of transition is most intense, and that maximum probability is due to maximum population of that state. And see that population or distribution of a molecule into the different state is governed by a simple principle, that is Boltzmann distribution law, which simply says that, which defined by a simple equation, capital N higher divided by capital N lower. Higher lower means higher energy level, lower energy level, equals to e raised to minus delta E by kT, where delta E is the difference between the two energy levels, E higher minus E lower. See that population is simply, you can say, determined with the help of Boltzmann's equation. Now, along with that, the next factor that is contributing to the intensity of a spectral line is concentration or a path length of a sample. Simply, you just consider, and you are recording the UV visible absorption spectrum. In the UV visible absorption spectrum, right, if the sample is having highest concentration, shows a peak with the high intensity. Why this? Because according to the Lambert's-Beer's law, the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration, or absorbance is directly proportional to the path length of a sample. So obviously that can also controls the intensity of a spectral lines. See, these are the simple basics or simple fundamental behind the spectroscopy. For any spectroscopy, all these fundamentals or principles can be applied. Thank you.